Welcome to the Bounce Media Network. It's your host, the one and only MC, Mr. J Ski, coming to you live and direct. Before we get started, I need you guys to go ahead and do me a favor, hit that bell notification, like the video, share the video, and hype the video if that is available to you. All right. Before we get started, before I just jump right into it, I want to forewarn you guys that I've already put out my video, the calm version of the storm. All right. So now this version is the actual storm. All right. And I want to dedicate this video to no one other than Adrian Ross and all the Rossies out there. This one's for you. All right. Now, number one thing that I want to talk about is Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston in our game last night against the Washington Mystics. Aaliyah Boston was a non-factor. All right. Now, it's okay for players to have bad games. I don't have a problem with that. Everybody has a bad game. Everybody has a bad day at the office. Okay. What I do have a problem with is this injury, this mysterious injury that I've been talking about since Aaliyah Boston acquired this injury in Unrivaled. Since Aaliyah Boston had this injury that caused her to miss the Olympic qualifiers in Puerto Rico. Okay. I knew this was a problem going into it, and I knew as soon as we had players started going over and playing in Unrivaled, this was going to be problematic for the WNBA season. All right. I also knew that if the WNBA did not put a clause in these new contracts for players to be coming over from other organizations, other leagues, injured, that they were going to be penalized for it. Yeah, Aaliyah Boston arrived this season injured. She didn't play in the preseason, and I knew that was going to be a big factor going down the road. All right. So she was out of the game. She didn't foul out of the game. She was out of the game because of that injury. All right. That injury reared its head and it came back. And as we all know, the Indiana Fever front office is not going to be straightforward with us about this injury. This was only game 3. All right. This was only game 3. And Aaliyah Boston is out. All right. So now that leads me to segue into the front office foolishness in the off season. Okay. You brought in all these guards. I like to call it an assortment of guards. And now we may potentially be down our only big. So now what? Now we have to bring in somebody on a hardship, most likely, more than likely. And it's going to be someone inferior to the player that we didn't protect. So $6.4 million 3-year contract, and she's going to be ineffective for this season, because if we're already in the start of the season, I mean, we have 44 games. That's 41 more games from now, with a game tomorrow night. So if she sits out multiple games in order to get better or to let that injury lessen, then it's going to, as soon as other players, opposing coaches, opposing teams realize that there's blood in the water, they're going to send the sharks after her. And we don't have anybody to protect her. And no disrespect to Mahisha Hines Allen, MHA, not good enough. Not good enough. No disrespect to Monique Billings, not good enough. These are players that are profoundly known for coming off the bench. Okay? These are not starting bigs, centers, power forwards. Okay? These are good backup players. The backup player can't be the starter. The backup player is to give the main player rest. So that's one thing that's up in the air. All right? Now, if you're assuming that I'm going to go into this just upset and irate because we lost the game, no, that's not it. You know, great teams lose games. I don't have a problem with losing a game. With me, It's how we lost the game. All right? We lost the game because our stupid ass coach messed up the rhythm in the first quarter. All right? We started off great in the first quarter. All right? Caitlyn Clark, being the player that she is, chose to get her shots going by attacking the glass early on, not trying to force threes or anything like that. Yeah, she did shoot up some and she missed them, but she didn't go to that as her bread and butter. All right? She just did that to check things out. Window shop, if you will. Is there a 3 in there? Is there a 3 in there? No, I don't see a 3 in there. Let me go next door and let me try this too. All right? And she did that. All right? So, how we lost. Stephanie White pulled Caitlyn Clark out of the game in the first quarter, and things immediately, the train went off the tracks. All right? The train went off the tracks, and it was hard to put the train back on the tracks. All right? Many players were confused. They didn't really know. They looked like they didn't know what plays to run. The offense was in disarray. Things looked choppy. Things looked sloppy. And we missed a lot of shots. Going into the second quarter, we scored 9 points in the second quarter. 9 points in the second quarter after we had a game where we scored nearly 30 in a previous game against the Wings. 9 points as a collective, as a unit, a team in the second quarter. All right. We were up by 13 points and the stupid coach messed up the momentum, the rhythm. All right. Caitlyn Clark is a rhythm player. All right. If you pull her out of the game too early, unless she's asking to get a rest, you don't just pull your star player out of the game. She's the one that already set the tempo for the game. And you pulled her out, you sat her down because I guess it looked like she was shining or something. You didn't like that light, like, hey, pull her out of there. I can already see where this is going. So you pulled her out, okay? Everybody was missing layups. Everybody was bricking. Nobody could get nothing done. Kelsey Mitchell, your favorite player in the whole wide world, couldn't get anything done in that second quarter. All right, and it went over into the third. And then we found ourselves basically blowing a 13-point lead, being down by 1. The rotations just didn't make any sense. Raven Johnson wasn't in the game. I don't know why this defensive, powerhouse that you drafted. I don't know why you didn't put her in the game to mess up Sonia Citrone's rhythm. Because Citrone, she was going out. Shout out to her. She had a great game. I'm a fan of Sonia Citrone. All right. Kiki Irifin was basically having her way with Aaliyah Boston before she mysteriously got pulled from the game. Shakira Austin having a great game. Not a big fan of her, but, much respect. She did her thing in this game. That was a young team, the Washington Mystics, and they were having their way with us, after you pulled Caitlyn out of the game. So, why is this? And I know you guys looking at my thumbnail and Stephanie White, eye robot. What does that mean? Well, I figured out what all the eye twitching and the ums and all that. I figured it out. Whenever Stephanie White starts malfunctioning, that's because her circuitry, her wires are getting crossed. All right? Stephanie White has to be some type of android. And she's constantly malfunctioning. Whenever she's been programmed to basically sabotage and stop Caitlyn Clark's momentum. Don't let Caitlyn Clark get hot. Don't let Caitlyn Clark break another record. Don't Don't let Caitlyn Clark run this offense because it's going to go the way that we don't want. It's going to go well. All right? So she starts malfunctioning. And that's when you see her on the sidelines just eye twitching for no reason. That's a sign of an android malfunctioning. She was programmed to come over to this team and sabotage this team, and you can't tell me anything otherwise because nothing else makes any sense. Why wouldn't you let your star player dictate the pace of the game? All right? Your job as a coach is to call a timeout when you see that another team is gaining momentum. Shout out to Sidney Johnson. That's what he did. He saw us going on a run and he was starting to kill us. He called timeout immediately. And I don't know what he said in that timeout, but I can guarantee you I have a hunch on what he said. He basically said, "Hey, this is what's happening over there. This is what I want you guys to do in order to stop them from doing that." I'm not going to give you all the details, but I'm pretty sure it sounded something like that. So they came out of that huddle, they came out of that timeout, and all of a sudden the momentum changed, the game changed, and Washington went on a run and they started playing better basketball and they stopped us because we looked good coming out the gate, but that gate closed real fast, really, really fast. All right. So again, special shout out to Slurp FC. All right. I see you guys out there. Convos with Carter, everybody, this one's for you. All right. The hate train is on the move. Upcoming games. The upcoming games. What are we going to do? If we're going to fall apart in a game against the Washington Mystics, and no disrespect to the Washington Mystics, they played a hell of a game last night, but they're a young, inexperienced team. They beat us on our home court. Again, by a couple points. Dallas Wings beat us by a couple points. We're playing Seattle tomorrow night. What's going to happen? Is Aaliyah going to play? Is she not going to play? They have Dominique Malonga still over there. They don't have Nneka Ogwumike, but they got the Malonga. That's what I'm going to call her, the Malonga. All right, that sounds like something towering and large and, fearsome. The Malonga. What are we going to do? MHA can't handle that. I know the girl's only like 20 years old, but she's a force to be reckoned with. What are we going to do about that? All right. Stephanie White. I want to get into this interview. I know other people have already talked about it, but you know what? Before I get into that, I want to talk about this, what Caitlyn Clark had to say in her post-game presser. Let's go ahead and check that out right here.
Caitlyn, how would you describe what you're feeling in that fourth quarter and just seeing the ball go through the hoop from distance for the first time really this season?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I could have made another 5. They're all right there, and obviously it was great to break through and get some to go down. So, I mean, we're getting great looks. We still shot 40% from the field, but we missed way too many bunnies around the rim. We talked about it at halftime. Probably should have talked about it after the game, but should never shoot 39% from the field and 40% from three. At the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to win basketball games. But we still scored 102 points. So it all comes back to our defense and the way we're able to defend. But hey, we fought through the fourth quarter. We fought. We clawed back. I thought we were going to be able to get them in overtime. And honestly, more than anything, shout out to our fans. Fans were amazing. They're a huge reason of why we were able to get back in this game. But it was definitely nice to see some go in. Wish would have helped us get a W a little bit more.
I want to pause it right there. Shout out to the fans, right? She said, shout out to the fans. That's something that the organization hasn't been doing because she knows the Fever fans are her fans. And she wanted to make sure in this post game, it was mentally in her head, shout out to the fans. Because those are the ones that are out there and those are the people that she feeds off of in order to generate this energy, this internal energy within her to perform. So shout out to the fans.
Yeah, Mo, with Aaliyah going out at the end of the third quarter and then not returning, how did that change the game for you? And then also kind of just for Maisha with having to play all those minutes through the fourth and overtime?
Yeah, I think the mentality is just next woman up, just staying ready when your number's called. We wanted to get that one for AB, so that's disappointing that we didn't. But I think our bench did a really great job. Whoever came in the game did their best to make a contribution.
Caitlyn, how tough is it for you mentally to kind of grind through those first three quarters when you're struggling and still keep chucking?
Hold on real quick. So Mo Billings, you know what? You know I like Mo Billings. But Mo, our bench was inefficient. All right. Our bench didn't do anything. All right. Ty Harris looked better in this game. MHA had a couple moments of, I wouldn't say greatness, but she was effective. We're talking about moments. All right. We don't have a very good bench. Shatori Walker Kimbrough, nowhere to be found. She didn't even put her in the game. Michaela Timpson, nowhere to be found. Raven Johnson, she was basically gone for almost 2 quarters. I don't understand what was going on in Stephanie White's mind when it came up to the rotations. It's almost like you had the A team in, you pull the A team out, and then you put the B team in. And things just went all haywire after that. All right. So with no Aaliyah Boston, we probably should have saw more of a pick and roll with Caitlyn and Mo Billings. We didn't even do that. Stephanie White had a plan. Caitlyn Clark had another plan. Caitlyn Clark's plan was to win this game, get this dub. Stephanie White's plan was to, I don't know. Because she don't know. But I do know this. As soon as she saw Caitlyn Clark doing something, she pulled her out of the game. She got cold. But Caitlyn Clark, being the great player that she is, stepped it up and said, not on my watch, not on my court. We're not going down like this. And brought the game back to a tie game at the end of the fourth quarter and taking us into overtime. All right, let's continue.
Way to be ready for that fourth quarter.
That's like the hardest thing as a basketball player is when you're not making shots to really stay in it. So I was certainly proud of myself. Really, really battled. And a lot of those shots are very, very makeable. And I finished really well around the rim and 2-point area to start the season today. I didn't finish well in the 2-point area. Like obviously 7 for 17 from 3. Obviously I got a lot up with how the game was played out. But happy with the way I shot it from 3. From 2, I need to focus around the rim a little bit better. As I said earlier, all of us need to do that, but it starts with me. And if we don't have 3 clunky quarters, we don't force ourselves into basketball heroics. Like we don't want to play that way. Like I know it's exciting for the crowd, but we should have had ourselves in a position, especially after the first quarter, to, control this ball game, and we really didn't.
Basketball heroics. Who does that sound like? That's the long way of saying hero ball. Basketball heroics, heroic basketball. We don't want to play that way. You play however you need to play to win. Now, what Kelsey Mitchell does with the ISO ball, that's basketball heroics. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do to do me? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do in order to get my stats, my line? I can assure you, Caitlyn Clark's not thinking about stats when she's playing basketball. She's thinking about winning. So for somebody to be in her head, to be in her psyche and talk about, and for her to utter the words basketball heroics, Stephanie White's in her head. She needs to get the hell out of her head. Imagine if she was thinking about that when she started raining threes at the top of the fourth quarter to put us back in this game. What if she was thinking about basketball heroics then? There wouldn't have been any overtime. She's thinking about it now after the game because she went into beast mode, psycho mode, and that was blocked out mentally. But you can see that does pop in her head throughout the game. She was only able to block it out because we were about to go down with an L. And beast mode Caitlyn Clark took over.
Monique, they had 58 points in the paint, start of overtime, Washington scoring down there over and over again. What did you feel like were the struggles you guys had protecting the cup tonight?
Just executing our coverages at times. Our communication wasn't always there. And again, they just made really tough shots sometimes. There were bodies there, and they just made really, really tough shots. Great players in the post.
Caitlyn, I noticed what got you going. It was moving to your left. That shot, what is it about that specific move on the left side of the court that you crafted, perfected?
I mean, I think it's more so just seeing a few go in. And I think I started hesitating a little bit and, probably have hesitated a little bit to start the season. And, I don't need to do that. Like, I'm best when I'm just letting it fly. So, it's good to see some come in, obviously going to the left. That's what I like. But at the same time, like, I don't get a ton of catch and shoot threes. So, take what you can get. But it's great, but I don't really care because we lost.
Yeah. So it's one thing to put on a show and put the team, the game on your back, on your shoulders. But if you lose after going through all that, yeah, it's great. It's a great highlight reel. But we lost. It would have been a better story had all that happened and she did all that and we won, even if it was by 1 point. I don't care if it's by a quarter of a point. If we were able to pull out a win, it would have been a bigger story. All right. And that's what she's thinking about. All right. Now, one thing that I do want to point out that she said, she mentioned that, it's great for when you can get catch and shoot shots off like that. And she's not able to get those. Yeah. You know who's able to get those? Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell is able to get those and Caitlyn isn't. And I don't know. It's almost like it's not even fair. It's like Caitlyn has to do all this work while other people just get set up to get things easy, for things to be handed to them easily. All right? So that's not cool. That's not cool at all. So the next thing I want to get into is this Stephanie White, what she had to talk about, what she had to say going into this in her post-game interview. And it's just, I know it's already been making the rounds and people have been talking about it, but this is just one of the things that just pisses me off.
Yeah, Steph, what did you think of the rally that your team had in the fourth quarter, particularly when it comes to Caitlyn? I think she made 5 threes in that fourth quarter, more than her first 2 games combined. So just your thoughts on the resilience from her.
I thought our whole group showed resilience, in that rally. We showed the ability to make tough shots. We had some really good time and score execution moments, offensively and defensively, in those moments. We just have to have more of it consistently.
Those second and third quarters felt like things kind of slogged for you guys, especially.
What is there to say from that? All right. The man asked you, what did you think about one player specifically in that moment, that closing, in that quarter, that high intensity quarter, and your response in regards to that one player was, well, I think the whole team showed resiliency and so forth and blah, 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 and yada, 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 BS. Nobody asked you about the team. That could have been a follow-up statement if you wanted to add that. He specifically asked you about Caitlyn Clark's solo performance in that quarter that catapulted us, projected us to the overtime. And you couldn't bring it within yourself. You started malfunctioning. Team, Kelsey Mitchell, team. You started malfunctioning like a damn out-of-date, broken robot. The way you've been programmed is to not highlight, not to big up, not to give props to one person specifically, and you automatically, your programming says to go in a different direction. That's what happens. So every time when we see you on the sideline and your eyes are glitching and you're twitching your nose or whatever, that's malfunctioning. It's not drugs like everybody else have been saying or whatever, calling you Stephanie Metheny or whatever. You're an android. You're an android. You've been programmed to come over here and mess up our system. And as soon as you see things going the opposite of what your programming says it should be, you start malfunctioning. Another thing I want to talk about, since I started off talking about Aaliyah Boston's injury. What the hell is this injury with this mysterious injury with Justine Passat? You guys brought her over to the team. You drafted her, but then you put her on a developmental contract, and now we see her on the sidelines like she's putting on a personal fashion show for the bench. When did she become injured? Because the last time I saw her play in the preseason, she didn't look injured to me. Did she become injured in training, in practice? Because it wasn't training camp. So was it the follow-up practices after training camp, after preseason? What is going on with Justine Passat? Because we could use her. She's a stretch four. We could really use her on the floor. Because I'm tired of seeing Damiris Dantas. She's great when she can hit a catch-and-shoot three. But other than that, she's not running the floor. Now, she can set a pretty good, she knows how to hold a screen. But she's not giving us a lot. And if her three ball's not falling, and we have somebody else over there sitting with a leather jacket on and designer clothes and whatnot that could be on the floor in a basketball uniform, I want to see that. And the fans want to see that. She has a following, unbeknownst to her, but many people want to see her play. And you're like holding her. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't go unnoticed. Like I said, shout out to all the Rossies out there, all the candy corn and candy corn rainbows and unicorns, that just want to gloss over everything that's going on in the Fever organization. Wherever you guys are at, I'm closer to Indiana than many of you. So, I don't know. Yeah, there's some great highlights to take away from the game, but there's a lot of stuff in that game that shouldn't have happened. We should not have been in that predicament, in that situation in the closing moments of the game. The Washington Mystics, that team looks like the 2024 second half of the Olympic break Fever team to me. It seems like that was the blueprint. Many people, as much as they want to hate on Caitlyn Clark, it seemed like many people chose that moment, chose that era in the 2024 season to kind of mimic that. Everybody wants, you don't think the Golden State Valkyries did that last season? They mimicked the run and gun, read and react style of the Indiana Fever 2024. This Washington Mystics team, as much as we hate the owner over there, or she's part owner, last name Johnson, I forget her name. Many people hate that lady, but that coach, Sidney Johnson, he's a better coach than our coach. I can tell you that. All right, that's all I got. I want to put this out there. Shout out to Slurp FC, Convos with Carter, Adrian Ross, everybody out there in Candyland. Like the video, share the video, hit that bell notification. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'm Mr. J Ski, and this has been The Bounce.